Chris Matthews, thank you so much for coming onto the stage. Chris Matthews is commonly known as the lethal shooter. He's an expert on coaching people how to train in the game of basketball, but also while using technology. First of all, welcome to Rwanda. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Long flight, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Anyone who didn't get the black memo, I don't know, guys. But what exactly has been your highlight since you landed? Just tell us real quick.
Just honestly meeting the people. As I've been walking around, just greeting everybody. I'm really excited to be here. This is something we've been trying to do for the last 3 years on my schedule. So I'm beyond excited to build here and come here and just bring my knowledge to push the basketball community here.
Well, you're known for merging precision shooting with cutting-edge training tools. How do you balance tradition and innovation in coaching today's players?
Yeah, so, I started training about 8 years ago. I've been blessed to train some of the best athletes in the world. I say the biggest part about connecting to athletes is understanding who they are. You can't train everybody the same way. The biggest thing that we're doing with Nike right now is teaching our trainers and our NBA coaches to understand that everybody has different learning capabilities. So I do a great job of teaching somebody on their level of teaching. So like a Jaylen Brown, he's very smart, as we all know. So he's somebody that I can be aggressive with my training. But if there's another client, he might not be a great listener. He might not be able to remember plays. I have to change my entire training to fit that person's mold. And I feel like to be the best, you have to be a person that understands people. And I think in today's world right now, a lot of people, just like teachers, they're teaching all the kids the same way. They're teaching all the athletes the same way. But to get the best out of a product, especially if you're the boss or somebody that's overlooking people, you have to do a good job of connecting with each individual and their personality.
Thank you so much. Any MBB fans here? Anyone from South Africa? Yeah? Okay. I ask because just yesterday we had an incredible game between MBB of South Africa and Nairobi City Thunder, sorry to the Kenyans. And we saw them really come from behind, 18 points deficit. And, Robinson Opong taking that last shot from the corner. For a player like that, how and what do you tell them before the game, but also to have the ability to focus and just get that shot?
Yeah, that's a really good example. So last year I was blessed to train Grayson Allen for a full season. He finished #1 in the NBA at 47% from three. And the biggest thing that I teach clients when I'm teaching them how to shoot, just be consistent and be confident. There's a lot of people in the world that are very insecure on themselves, especially big athletes, because the power of social media has the ability to beat people down. And it's our job as coaches to always make sure that they're blocking out the negativity. So as a coach, I know the shot that you're talking about, when the young man was holding his follow-through, that just told me that he had extreme confidence in the preparation that he puts in. And if you're a coach out there, the preparation is very important. So if you're training a client at 1 o'clock, or you're a coach, or you're a CEO or a boss, you have to be there 2 hours early. When your client is done, like when I'm training a Jaylen Brown in Abu Dhabi or Egypt, wherever he's taking me around the world, when he leaves, I don't leave. I stay in the gym and shoot myself. So you have to be a product to show the client how great you are to push them, because there's a lot of athletes and a lot of people that are looking up to the person that's teaching them. And if you're not putting in the work, they're not going to put in the work as well.
Well, we've seen over the years, Kobe Bryant, may his soul rest in peace, Michael Jordan, they've always talked about how in practice they prepare for that, rundown. The clock is going down, 5 seconds to go. What do you say in that shot? But let's come back to the African continent. When you're talking about athletes who are coming from undeserved, environments, what is it that you would tell them to help them to prepare at that level?
Yeah, so I grew up the same way. I'm from Washington, D.C., but I come from an environment where it's suppressed and, basically the resources weren't there. But I feel like when you're teaching somebody that comes from that type of environment, just like myself, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have the coaches and the type of churches and the type of people that pushed me to be the man I am. So I feel like it's our job as a community to go to these communities to let these kids know we do love them, and not just for sports, but for education as well, because I'm the first person in my family to actually graduate from college. And I think that's what pushed me to be a great basketball player, because I understood that basketball was going to help me get a great education, and it was going to help me become a millionaire, especially using the gift that I have to work on. So I say if we're trying to go in these type of areas, don't always just go in there just for basketball. Go in there to teach. Go in there to teach them how to use computers. Go in there to teach them. I heard they was talking about AI. We have to evolve to the times, but use sports to let the kid know we love them as well, because some of the kids won't just listen if you tell them to be on the computer. But if you tell them, you know, if you do well on the computer, we can go outside and shoot for like an hour, or we can go train. That's how you use basketball as an incentive. And I feel like growing up, of course, there wasn't a lot of computers where I was from, but they was using education as an incentive for kids in my neighborhood. If you want to go play basketball, if you want to go play baseball, you got to make sure you have good grades and make sure education is first.
Gilbert, are you still there? Gilbert, great. When you were asking your question, I was like, why is he killing my vibe? Because I had a question. I was going to ask him something that, you know, he can answer for you. You talked about AI. Can you tell us, how are you using AI right now in your coaching programs?
Yeah, so the biggest thing right now, especially with Nike, so I have to learn how to catch up with that, because I'm a traditional old school teacher. So I can watch a young man or a young woman shoot, and I can tell you exactly what they're doing wrong in a millisecond, because respectfully, I am the AI, because I worked on it, and yeah, yeah, and I put in the work. So I put so much work into my craft that when I see somebody else do it, I don't need technology to tell me how to fix it, but to evolve with the times. Yes, we do have people around me that have film that's telling us, okay, you know, if you're playing the Celtics, they're going to take a certain amount of threes. If you're playing the Raptors, they're going to do this much in the corner, et cetera, et cetera. And trainers are using that as well. They're using certain type of apps and stuff to watch players play. You do have to evolve with those type of times. But I'm blessed to be with a company like Nike, where we're going into a situation and I'm not as educated with using that type of technology. They do have teams around me that will show me certain type of film that's needed. But me personally, of course, evolve with the times. But if you want to master anything, you have to make sure you master your craft before you teach it. That's the biggest thing I teach all my coaches, especially with Nike Academy. Don't rely respectfully so much on the computer, because we're the original computer. You know what I mean? So I feel like if we're mastering our craft and we're evolving our brains, it's going to help us teach the next generation on top of evolving, because we can't stay old school as well and saying we don't want to learn that stuff, because we do have to learn it.
Thank you so much, Chris, for saying that. And by the way, I'm going to do you in good company. I also like to print out my papers, so we're good. The three of us, at least we can conquer. I'd like, first of all, to request everybody here to clap hands for the NBA Africa Academy, and I'll tell you why. We all have seen since the beginning of the season the incredible stories of this academy, all the way from Sali in Senegal. Last year, the NBA draft. You know, Yurish Chomche, currently playing with the Toronto Raptors. Ruben Chinyelu, of course, won the NCAA this year with Florida. And so many of the players that are doing an incredible job. Kaman Malwash also just entered the NBA draft this year. And just, you know, Thierry Galin as well from the Central African Republic. So beautiful stories. But if you had to develop an ideal basketball program, what are the three core elements you would include that would make it extraordinary?
Yeah, so like I said, the biggest thing we're doing with Nike and Jordan brand is starting from a young age, you want to start with fundamentals. You know, when your parents taught you how to drive, they didn't just throw you on the highway. You know what I mean? You had an imagination, so you're probably in the house driving with your imaginary toy, and then, you know, you got your bike, and then your dad or your mom said, okay, let's go on the back road and learn how to drive. And that's the same way we teach with Nike and Jordan brand. If you want to teach, you have to start from a fundamental standpoint. You start in front of the rim, learning how to shoot. You start with fundamental dribbling. I'm a big fan that if you're not a three-point shooter, three-point, of course, is pushing the game. You know, I have clients that just signed for $300 million, $290 million, because I was blessed to help them with the art of shooting. But you don't just lead up to just shooting the ball that good. You have to start from an area of like a kid, even when you're an adult, when you're learning something. So I'll say with these academies, you want to have trainers that understand their gift and to, like I said, teach on a way that the person's learning level is, but start from a fundamental standpoint. Second, Body language is very important. So the one thing my clients can always say, if I'm having a bad day at home or I just had a bad day driving to work, as the boss or the person that's the representation of the art of shooting, you'll never know I'm having a bad day. You always have to have a good spirit, because if you're putting out bad energy and you're trying to teach, you're actually putting that bad energy out to that kid or that person you want to evolve. And the third thing, I'll say, just be a representation, like I said before, on who you need to be. So like I said before, if you're training somebody and they're doing something wrong, you should be able to show them as well. I'm a big fan of that. Like if I'm trying to learn the piano and I'm messing up on a key and my teacher can't play that same key for me, we have an issue. And I feel like in certain places when I travel the world for Nike and Jordan Brand, respectfully, there's a lot of trainers that teaching respectfully, but they're not doing as well. And we don't say you need to shoot like Steph Curry or shoot like Klay Thompson, but at least work on your craft a certain way that when that player does make a mistake, you can take that ball. I take honor in that. So like if I'm training a Jalen or I'm training a Anthony Davis, I say, give me that basketball. Let me show you how to do it. Then I'll bang out, bang, 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 make like 5 in a row and say, you need to listen. So they can see like, okay, this is why he teaches me. And those are the biggest things. Start with foundation, your body language, and the third, just working on your craft, because you can't teach something that you haven't mastered.
Well, thank you so much for that. We've already seen some incredible shooting here in the Basketball Africa League already in the Nile Conference. Some of you have been following the games. Jean-Jacques Boissy from Al Ahly Tripoli just shining out through. But we've seen in... Oh, sorry. Yeah, we've seen shooters from across the world. Corey Webster all the way from New Zealand. We've seen Mendoza from the Dominican Republic, and so many players from across Africa and the Middle East. But my question to you is, what is a coaching myth that you've seen people embrace that you would like them to let go?
Me personally, I will reverse the question. I like to see it back. I want to see coaches getting back to holding players accountable. I feel like in today's age, we're being super sensitive with players because we're afraid of the player. I feel like I'm elite the way I am because my coaches were very hard on me and very strict. And I'm not trying to say we need to beat the kid down on how I was taught, but I feel like a lot of the kids now are spoiled. And I feel like as coaches, we have to do a good job of pushing them to a level that's very uncomfortable, that they are going to go over that tipping block. So when they are in that situation in a game or something of that stature, they can't be broken. And I feel like coaching today, that's why it's a blessing that, Nike trusts me to co-direct Nike Academy. We're setting that standard. So when we have a kid that's coming in that's going to be a future lottery pick, like an AJ Batista or something, like he's going to BYU, but like when he comes in to the Nike headquarters, he knows as soon as he steps through those doors, just get ready for hell. But it's out of love. And I feel like coaches today, respectfully, we're just so nice to the kids, you know what I mean? Because we want to be their friends. How can I try to teach you something and push you to a certain level, and the whole time I'm just trying to be your buddy, if that makes sense? And I feel like with coaches today, especially with social media, we got to get back to pushing players and pushing people in these environments to get to the next level.
All right, thank you so much. I know you said the kids, the relationship with the kids, and this is the last question from me before we take questions from the public, but we have so many corporates here, people who work, executives and all of our guests at the BAL, but what is the one thing or two things, if you would like, that as a coach you can share with executives that they can apply in the day jobs?
I'll say just make sure you're getting your rest. What a lot of people don't know, I'm blessed to I'm signed to Red Bull, Google. As you guys know, I'm signed to the NBA, which is a blessing. I just partnered with Walmart, just signed a 5-year deal. But it's just make sure you're getting your rest, because I feel like in society right now, we're all being driven to a tipping point because it's just so hard because of the algorithm, what it's feeding us and what the news is feeding us. And just remember who you are in this type of environment, because I feel like a lot of us are getting caught up trying to, just work. So just make sure you're getting your rest. And second, I'll say that I have to do a better job as well. Just make sure you're keeping up with your family members as well. You know what I mean? Make sure you're checking on the people that molded you and help you become who you are, because you wouldn't be where you are today if it wasn't for them. And I feel like sometimes I work so much that I forget about, some of the people that helped me in life, and I need to start doing a better job of checking on them. And I'll say the third thing is too, take the time to like meditate. You know what I mean? Turn off your phone, turn off the computer. I love our phones. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be where I am today. As you guys know, I have like 4 million followers on Instagram. I have like 3 million followers on TikTok. But the phone sometimes can distract us. So make sure you take at least 30 minutes a day to put the phone down, turn the computer off, and just connect with your brain and meditate, because that's when I get my best ideas. I don't know if you guys seen the content I did in Kenya, but I'm like the first man to ever shoot against a turbine. And that content, it got like 200 million views, but I got that idea because I was just sitting and relaxing with myself and meditating. And I have another amazing project that I'm about to do in the next 3 weeks, the same. The idea came to my head because I wasn't allowing the world to speed me up. So just slow down and just remember who you are.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I hope we heard that. We'll take 2 questions from the crowd. And by the way, he has 2 world records, shooting records.
Yes, yes.
Yep. 2 questions. Anybody? Yes. There. Here, in the middle? In the middle, and then Chris?
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Radukunda. I'm a founder and designer at Kunda Creative Agency. And first, I want to say I understand it now. And it's such a pleasure to have Chris here, and thank you for everyone who got him here. My question is about how you got into basketball. And I want you to also talk about any potential, because I know in the US, basketball also has a form of culture around it. Street culture, street ball, fashion, like other things that energize communities. And I think there's a potential for BAR and the basketball to also serve as that in neighborhoods, in cities. And I want share your experience, how you got into basketball, and why your thinking might be about the catalytic potential of basketball in Africa context. Thank you.
Yeah, nah, for sure. So I actually been playing basketball my whole life, and like you were saying as well, where I come from, it's not a lot of opportunities, but I've been educating my community to know, where we come from, we're not just basketball players or rapper or something like that. We can evolve to be anything we want in my community, which I think I've been doing a great job of doing. And with that being said, basketball does move if the person that gets the gift and gets the reward goes back to reach and touch back to the communities. And a good example is I've been signed to PlayStation for 3 years, but if a company wants to sign me, you have to devote to my community. So PlayStation just 3 weeks ago put a game room in my community. They just, Spalding just redid a gym in my community. We're about to put a computer lab in my community. We do turkey drives every year. We have a lot of women in my community, which myself, so I didn't grow up with my real parents. My mom was, is drugs. So I do a good job in my community of giving back to the women in my community, trying to fight drug habits, because I understand how it is to grow up without your biological mom and your biological father. So I make sure that any brand that signs me, including Google or anybody, understands if you sign me, you sign my entire community. We're gonna go back, we're gonna reach back, we're gonna touch back, and by doing that, And by doing that, I'm using basketball. So my gift of shooting, my gift that I sacrificed my life for, now I can go back to my community and talk to them and put resources back in my community using the basketball culture. So now when that young kid sees me, or that young adult sees me, they're like, wow, like he used his gift to come back. And I feel like that's what we need to be doing as well. We need to have different pillars who are doing great things and different people to go back and reach back in these communities. And you start kids at a young age, and that's when you build a cult that understands that, okay, we're gonna use basketball, we're gonna use our gift, but most importantly, we're gonna build up our communities and build up our country.
Thank you so much for sharing that personal story. One more question at the back, Chris, with the hat.
Thank you. I'm Christian. I work with DME Academy. We're based in Florida. I just want, you talked about grassroots, you talked about balancing, and my question was, looking at your experience, how can grassroots coaching in Africa balance immediate skill development with long-term player growth, ensuring young athletes don't peak too early or burn out?
Yeah, that's really good. So, thank you to Nike for trusting me. But when I first started with Nike Academy, we were really pushing the athletes really hard all week. We had them playing 5-on-5 a lot. And then we noticed at the end of the week, a lot of our players were burnt out, and we weren't getting the best out of the product for the GMs, and some players were getting hurt. And the one thing that we started learning was, shout out to Sam Jones and all the other guys from Nike, we changed the entire formula of Nike Academy now, that an entire week we're trying to attack your mind. We're teaching the young athlete how to connect with their inner person on top of the skill work, and then we play. And the biggest thing, I don't know, I haven't been here, and I'm teaching on Friday with the other coaches, it's not always about 5-on-5. Like, if you want to see who the best athlete is, you put them in 2-on-2 environments, you put them on 3-on-1 environments, you put them in 4-on-4 environments, so they can learn how to move without the basketball, so they can learn how to talk on defense, so they can learn how to read and cut. And that's what comes with not playing 5-on-5. Another thing that we do as well, have them play basketball without a basketball. You know what I mean? They're running up the court using their imagination. Like, okay, I got you back door. They're kicking it. Oh, I got the ball. Like, just doing other things. And we realized at the end of the camp last year, when we had them play at the end, it was the best basketball that we ever seen because we didn't burn them into the ground. And the biggest thing we saw as well, it was able for us to connect with their brains because their bodies weren't so tired, if that makes sense. So I feel like here, if you have a top-tier athlete, don't play them as much. Of course, they need to play 5-on-5, but teach them how to play 2-on-2. Teach them how to play 3-on-3. Teach them how to play without the basketball in their hands. Because if you notice in the NBA, there's only one Steph Curry, there's only one Kevin Durant, there's only one LeBron. Everybody is a job to do within the job. And a good example is that person might not touch the basketball. Their only job might be just set screens for Klay Thompson. So they have to understand how to play basketball in that way, and especially teaching a young player to understand, especially when we're changing in Nike EYBL, just teaching everybody you do not need the basketball in your hand the entire time to impact the game.
Thank you so much. Since you're a coach, you're always coaching people, I'd like to coach you.
Okay.
Just to say Murakoze.
Murakoze.